Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? The Saints did not practice on Wednesday. Keep in mind, the week, because they played on Monday Night Football, is a little bit different. So they played on Monday Night Football. Typically, Monday is sort of the come in, rest, recover day. Tuesday is the off day in the NFL. Then you start practicing it on Wednesday, which is why I have an injury report. Well, in effect, because they played on Monday, you get treatment Tuesday, then Wednesday's your off day. Then Thursday, they'll start preparing. They'll prepare Thursday, Friday. I would assume walk through Saturday, travel to Pittsburgh, and then play on Sunday. So the injury report today, Wednesday, is really just an estimation of practice statuses because they didn't actually practice. All right, let's run through it. The injury report is shrinking a little, but it's still notable. So you don't have as many players on the injury report, but literally every player on the injury report is a starter. Here's the guys that would not have practiced on Wednesday had the Saints had practice. Mark Ingram, which I think we knew. Marshawn Lattimore, still out with the abdominal injury. Eric McCoy, that's significant. We'll come back to it. Andres Pete, and, of course, Pete Werner, who was carted off the field on Monday Night Football. Those that would have been limited are Marcus Davenport with a calf injury. It's always something. Jarvis Landry with an ankle. And Ryan Ramczyk, who all throughout the year they've been giving him these rest days. He's been limited middle of the week and then practices fully later. But with a guy of that status and stature, it's quite all right giving him rest days to make sure it's really just about making sure he's ready to go on Sunday. As for the Steelers, if you look through their injury report on Wednesday, their kicker, Chris Boswell, has a groin injury, which is certainly worth noting. He, along with William Jackson, Keller Witherspoon, Miles Jack, and Larry Ogunjobi did not practice. Full participants who were battling injury, Levi Wallace and Christian Kuntz, their long snapper. So, with the Saints, there's a couple of things on this injury report that are most notable. Eric McCoy is just massively significant. And in part, that's been drilled into my brain, and I'm sure for many of you as well over the years, for the many years that Mike Detillier was here, and he shared that stat with us about every time a team loses its starting center, they fail to cover that week, the week they lose their center, 85% of the time. So we saw the domino effect McCoy's injury had on the Saints on Monday. When Ruiz moved over to center, Throckmorton went in at guard. That's, it's hard to minimize the importance of the offensive line in a week like this, especially, if you look at that defensive front from Pittsburgh and the fact that we saw the news this week that it looks like TJ Watt's going to be available for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That news came yesterday. That it looks like Watt is going to be available for Pittsburgh. So one of the best defensive players in the NFL returns in a week where the Saints are going to have very likely an offensive line shuffle. I don't like that at all. The other part of it as well is defensively, it looks like you're going to be down some key guys. Dennis Allen did give an update on Marshawn Lattimore, who continues to battle that abdomen injury.
I think he's closer. We'll monitor him throughout the week. He's picked up the intensity of his workouts, in terms of the rehab process. And so, I'm hopeful that we'll get him back sooner than later. It's a tough injury to come back from, and he's working hard to get back.
He hasn't played since the Seattle game. So he played in the first 4 games of the season and hasn't played since being injured in that game in London. So that's been pretty critical as you've really had to shuffle that secondary. Thankfully, Alontae Taylor has come back healthy and was one of the highest grade defenders on Pro Football Focus after this past week. So he's played well. You got Paulson Adebo available, but man, you've had to activate Chris Harris. This week, PJ Williams was activated as well. You're really figuring it out back there with Roby and with Lattimore having been out for this length of time. if there is a bit of good news, you're playing Pittsburgh with a rookie quarterback and Kenny Pickett. And remember, Pittsburgh just traded Chase Claypool before the trade deadline, so they really removed their best offensive weapon from their offense as well. So maybe a little bit of a breather for that secondary, not facing the challenge they have in recent weeks, namely with Lamar Jackson, even without guys like Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews this past week. Also, the other significant injury there is Pete Werner, who was carted off the field on Monday Night Football. Here was Dennis Allen when he was asked about sort of a timeline for Pete Werner.
Look, I'm not into giving a bunch of time frames and all those kinds of things. I understand where your questions are coming from, and I understand, everybody's got a job to do, but, we really don't talk a lot about time frames on injuries. Guys get injured. They rehab the best they can, try to get them back out as soon as we can.
Caden Ellis replaced Pete Werner, and Caden Ellis did performed pretty well. He had a handful of tackles. He did have a sack in the ball game. I'm pulling up the box score. I want to make sure that I have that correctly. But Caden Ellis played well. He also kind of got juked by Lamar Jackson, but then again, who didn't get juked by Lamar Jackson? Ellis in the game had 5 tackles, 4 solo, 1 sack, and a quarterback hit. So he played well in spots, Caden Ellis did, but I don't know that there's a replacement for Pete Werner, who had been your most active, most effective player so far this season on the defensive side of the ball. And one more from Dennis Allen about Jarvis Landry, who just continues to be hobbled.
We've had conversations with Jarvis. We'll see where he's at again. Kind of like Marshawn, we'll monitor it throughout the week. Look, last week he was able to get out on the field and get some limited practice in, and so hopefully that'll increase this week. Again,
Jarvis is another guy who's only played in 4 games this year. So you're a team that is just past the halfway point. You're 3-6 through 9 weeks. You got 8 games to play, and you're down some pretty significant players. But like we've talked about before, this is a team that their opportunity to finish the season above 500 is just not realistic. You're going to have weeks where you play well and you win, like you did against Las Vegas. And then you're going to have clunkers against good teams like you did against Baltimore. And you're going to have some heartbreaking losses as well, like the ones against Cincinnati or Arizona. And you'll probably find a way to steal a game like you did against Atlanta in week 1. There's probably 3 or 4 more wins on that schedule for the Saints. I mean, a 6-11, 7-10. Someone asked me, do you think the Saints win another game? Of course they'll win another game. It's the NFL. It's any given Sunday, and there's still enough talent on that field that in spots where they put it together, they're going to play well. And the unfortunate thing about this week is this is one of those weeks where you would assume they could put it together and play well and have a chance to beat a team like Pittsburgh with a rookie quarterback. But you're going on the road on a short week, and you're down so many key players. You're going to have a shuffle on the offensive line, most likely, and that just doesn't bode well for New Orleans in this spot going to Pittsburgh on Sunday for a noon kickoff. We'll continue to follow to see who they may have available, but at this point, it's just hard to be optimistic about anything going on in New Orleans right now. Maybe they can surprise us at some point. Just don't think it's realistic. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.